Now it's time to grab some hot cocoa and s'mores and gather around the bonfire. Time for spooky stories with Erika Lewis.
Ooh.
Whoop, whoop. Welcome.
Hey,
Welcome.
Erika.
Hey,
welcome
Erika.
to the show.
Erica.
Very excited.
We're happy to have
Very
you.
excited.
Awesome. All right, now, Erika, you live in LA, but you grew up in the DC area on the other side of the Potomac, over near where we live, because Lizzie and I live in the
Wow.
DC area in Alexandria, Virginia.
Yes, that's where I grew up. Is that where you live?
Well,
No, I'm in DC. I'm in DC. He's in
and
College
I
Park.
live in College Park, Maryland. Yep.
Oh, nice.
I'm hopping a
Fun. I was
skip.
just there.
Oh, were you? So, what was it like? I mean, do you miss it?
Yeah, I miss a lot of things about it. I mean, I don't miss the weather, but I mean, it's nice. We don't get a lot of snow ever, unless it's in the mountains.
We don't
Yeah.
either in DC anymore. DC, it doesn't snow in DC anymore. Doesn't snow in
What?
DC.
That's what
Well, we haven't seen snow.
my
in a
mom
while.
is. Yeah, it's funny. I miss a lot of things about it. My friends in high school. Funny because we all get back together every time I'm in town. It's like the same old, And I come back all the time to visit my Alexandria High School is where I went to school, which used to be the former T.C. Williams, which is now the Alexandria High School.
Mm-hmm.
Go Tigers! So I go back there on whenever I'm writing something that comes out, so I can hang out with the kids. And
Oh, cool.
so it's fun.
So, would you say you're happier in LA?
I like living in LA. I mean, I've been here for 20 years, which is
wow.
the longest I've
Oh, yeah.
lived. I'm used to it now. But I grew up there, and then I went to college in Nashville, Tennessee at Vanderbilt. And then I lived in Atlanta for 4 years. I was working at CNN back then, and then I lived in London for a year. And so I've kind of lived everywhere.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah. Alexandria's home.
All right. And reading your bio, it says your passion is storytelling set in magical places, sort of like Agrabah.
I do a lot of stories. Yeah.
And it says that when you're not writing, you're either traveling or scribbling on notes in a blank book while wandering through abandoned buildings and all kinds of museums and graveyards. So is that how you get your inspiration?
Well, yeah, it's kind of funny because when I lived in London, I studied a lot of stuff in Ireland, a lot of Celtic history, a lot of mythology, and we go back now as a family frequently every summer if we can. The pandemic we weren't able to, but a lot of my inspirations. In fact, I have a book coming out in March that's my new middle grade series, which I'm really so excited about. It's like after my heart. I can hold up the advanced reader copy here.
What's that,
Kelsey Murphy yeah, you want to read it?
Kelsey Murphy and the Academy for the Unbreakable Arts?
Exactly.
Nice.
Exactly.
Very
It
nice.
was actually by on the Isle of Skye, which is a part of Scotland right now. Back in early Irish history days, it was sort of all they melded together back even pre-Celts. There was a goddess named Skyhawk. She was a warrior goddess that taught all of the biggest heroes in Irish mythology how to fight. And so I actually went to the ruins of what they call Dunsky Castle, which she's called the Shadowy One, and she inspired the school that's in this story. So yeah,
Shadowy
a lot of that.
Ooh.
Now, you've done comics and novels. So you've done like
Yes.
Game of Shadows, Firebrand and the Incursion, Guardian, the 49th Key, and you have your current book is All of the Dragons. It's your debut young adult novel just released.
I
Tell us
love
about
the
that.
cover.
Yeah, this came out October 1st. And it's a story about the birth. Well, I shouldn't say the birth. It's about the very first dragon. So, where King Arthur's stories and legends were the end of magic in Wales, this is mine and R.A. Salvatore, who crossed the story with me. It's our interpretation of the birth of magic in Wales. So it's the beginnings of Merlin, the beginning long before King Arthur and Merlin existed, and sort of the dinosaur evolutionary version of where the dragons kind of evolved from. And so this just came out. It is a story that we did in partnership with a company called Temple Hill Productions that did all kinds of movies and adaptations. The Hate to Give, Twilight, Maze Runner, so many. So I was actually back east with this book, we did an event together, which was really fun because it's just now opening up, so it's kind of nice to get out,
Yeah.
I had to get my booster, and then I was going to schools, but it was great. I was so fun, and I don't care if I have to mask up. I'm just happy back in front of the readers, to have a little bit of because writers really scary. I mean, me and it. So,
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah.
All right, so it's officially story time. So I know you brought a scary story for us. So we're all excited.
Okay.
So Erika, I'm gonna turn it over to you. Tell us your scary story.
Okay. So it's really funny that you're talking about Alexandria because my scary stories obviously all started there. I do have a weird relationship with ghosts. I do that they tend to find me sometimes, and I say that, and I inherited because this happens to my son sometimes, especially when he was little. But it all started on my riding my dirt bike through Fort Ward, which of course is in Alexandria, through the graveyards there, you had to cut through Episcopal to get there from where I lived. And all of a sudden I would feel like weird things were kind of following me home. It would get cold. And then at about the age of 8, my mother decided that she was tired of wrapping our Christmas presents. And she decided that I in particular should be, because my fingers were, for some reason, I was a better rapper. She would stick them all in this tiny little closet, which should say enough about the story. She would stick them in a closet. She would be like, "Oh, it's okay. Just close your eyes when you're wrapping yours." Which, of course, at 8 years old, of course, then you know everything you're getting. But setting that aside, so yeah, parenting 101. This is what it comes from being a Gen X. So all the presents would be there, but it would always be at night, and she didn't want anyone else seeing, the wrapping, and so she'd close the door, and I'd have my light that would, tiny little flashlights in there, and there would just be presents everywhere. And it started the first year with just like knocking, like hearing these weird sounds, and of course freaked out me. I run out, and she'd be like, "No, it's fine, it's nothing." Okay, the next year the lights would start flickering, and this would go on and on and on, and things would move. And I never really put much stock in it because I was like, okay, it does, like, I could sense when ghosts were around because it would get really cold, or I would feel fingers sort of creeping over my back, and it would help. But after a while you're like, okay. But then, and I swear to God, I know I wasn't asleep. One year, Fort Ward was, I think, the 5th largest Union Civil War facility. And I know, did you guys see that movie Poltergeist?
Yes,
right?
Yeah,
Of course.
Oh my God.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Terrifying.
I mean, yeah, well, all of the houses that were built in our neighborhood were new, and they were built on top of all of this land that had once been fought over with the Civil War.
Wow.
And so something really weird is going on. Yeah. And so literally one night, the last night, I will never wrap these presents again. The lights all went out. And you could just see a little bit of glow coming through the door. And all of a sudden, this huge wave of freezing comes over me. And when I flicked the lights back on, I saw all of these like Civil War men, soldiers, from all, like young. We're talking, you know, from 10 maybe up to 16. Not old. I think I was like 10 years old myself, and they were wounded. Like they were like coming through in almost like a line of them, and I ran out, and that was the last time
Oh my
I
God.
was in that closet again. I was like, no, I'm not going back in there. But yeah, so that
Chills.
was one. Yeah, that was one. That was one of the worst ones. But I remember when my son was born, he was, I guess at this point he would have been about 2 years old. And when I moved in the house that we live in now, the woman who had been living here died the day we went to settlement, and her daughter had sold the house. So what was weird is literally right after that, the lights started going on and off. My dog would be barking at nothing, you know, like she'd go over to the corner of the room and just start barking. And it was like, okay, something weird is going on here. And so I went to visit some of my friends who are much more versed in what to do with ghosts. And she's like, you know, light some sage, have a conversation with her, tell her you're taking care of the house and it's okay to move on. So I'd have these conversations and things would die down. And then all of a sudden, after I started to have kids, things started to pick back up again. And my son was about 3 years old. And I'll never forget this. I hear him talking out loud to his room. It's 2 a.m. I get out of bed. I come down. I open the door. And Jack is sitting up. He's having a conversation with this person. And I said, Jack, you need to go to bed. Who are you talking to? And he's like, well, I'm talking to this nice lady, but she won't leave me alone. And I was like,
Oh.
no.
Oh my God.
Wow, that's scary.
They always say like babies, no, like young babies and animals can see. So that's funny that you mentioned both dogs and your son. God.
Yeah, and it's really scarier when the dog does it because you know then it's like it's more often. With my son, it was only a few times that it happened, but I've had really weird experiences. I remember the last story I'll tell, my last ghost story is my grandmother and I were very close, and but my grandfather died when I was like 7, so she didn't talk about him very much. And by the time she was passing, I was in my late 20s, and I woke up. She was really ill. I woke up, and I was in that place between kind of sleep and awake, you know, where you're not quite awake, but you're not quite asleep. And I heard her, and she used to call me Lovey, and she would say, "Lovey, I have to go now." And I was like, "Where are you going?" And she was like, "Well, I have to go. Your grandfather's waiting for me." And so I felt like, okay, am I dreaming this? And I said, you know, well, where is he? Is Grandpa here? She's like, yes, he's the one standing over there, the one with the really nice legs. And I thought, okay, that's a really strange thing for my grandmother to say to me in a dream, one with the really nice legs. Okay. So when I got to the office the next morning, was like, I don't know, 6 a.m., 7 a.m. I got up because I got in there really early because I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
My mother called. She's like, I have really bad news. Your grandmother passed away this morning. And I was like, that's really, really weird. Because she came to say goodbye, and I said, Mom, she said the strangest thing. She said that Grandpa was there, and she said something about him having really nice legs. And she's like, oh, she used to always say that about my father. And I was like, really, really weird, but okay. So
And you had never heard him say that before?
I never heard her say that before because he passed away long before I, you know, I have hardly any memories of him. I was like 7 when he died. He died young, so it was really strange. But there you go. I guess, but you know.
So suffice it to say, you believe in ghosts, I'm assuming.
I do, and what's really funny is like with her in particular, I'll smell her perfume sometimes. I don't know if that happens to any of you guys. Like suddenly we'll smell a perfume that isn't like I'll be in my office and I'll smell and I feel like she's there, you know, saying hi or there's something. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen a ghost personally, but I know in my childhood, my mother used to tell me that I would see things and talk to people, and I'd be like, you know, talk to like other people. So I don't know. Maybe I did. I don't recall it though. Anyone else? Anyone
Yeah.
else deal with that?
It's got a good
Not
story.
myself
Yeah.
personally, but my son, when he was younger, about 4 or 5 years old, he had an imaginary friend named Pierre, and we lived in a housing co-op at that point, and there was a little boy named Peter that had been involved in an accident. He was out riding his bike and had been run down, and he lived in this community. So then Zach would start acting out, and it's like, "What are you doing?" Well, Garrett told me to do it. Like, and after a while, it's like, "Okay, kid, this is just creepy. Like, just stop, please."
Yeah, that's weird. Oh my
It got,
god.
yeah, it got to
Wow.
the point. Yeah, we used to see weird things. We definitely experienced some weird things in that unit. Mind you, I was taking over-the-counter sleeping pills at the time, so I was definitely in that fugue state. But no, we had a friend come and do a smudging, burn the sage, and
Hey,
follow
Nice.
native traditions to cleanse the house because I was starting to get a
Clear
little
that
freaked out.
Yeah. There's a
Yeah.
We can't hear
there's
you,
a
Liz.
story that oh
Go ahead, Johnny.
oh I was just gonna say really quick in my hometown of Providence, Rhode Island, there was this castle that was in a city called Cranston in Rhode Island, and it was always like talks of this like ghosts and soldiers like haunted soldiers. And actually, if you guys know the movie Hocus Pocus, Hocus
Yeah.
Pocus 2 is being filmed in that same haunted castle that I knew when I was growing up. So yeah, it was a lot of like sights, and I have so many stories.
What were you saying, Liz?
I was just saying, with all of this evil out here, and I watch a lot of scary movies. I love thrillers. That's my favorite genre of books and of movies. I always watch, like, my go-to channel is Investigative Discovery. I watch all of the killer shows, and so with that in mind, I'm always burning sage to keep the evil out. Always burning sage.
You attract
Keep the
it,
evil out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah, and I sleep with
You gotta
a
counteract.
butcher knife underneath my pillow. But
You say that.
before the killer gets into my room, I have sage burning. I have sage.
All right, Lizzie, Rob, who wants to go next? Oh, go ahead. Go. Were you gonna say something, Erica?
I say go for the butcher knife before the sage if somebody comes into
Yeah,
your room.
I'm with Erica
Yeah.
on that one.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like, the sage is for daytime scents, if you will. Hopefully it'll encourage the universe to keep the evil out. But if the evil comes
Yep.
in, I got something for them.
Still
I
got it.
something
Nice.
for them.
Yeah.
Oh wait, so I
Don't
see
call
a.
me Cruella DeVille for nothing.
So Karen Thompson says interesting stories yet somehow very believable. George Fournier points out he loves the costumes, and
Thank you,
Robin
George.
Johnson said working overnight, and one night my tech and I were talking at the same time. We both stopped talking and looked at each other. We both felt like a big dog brushed against our legs.
Ooh.
He's a veterinarian. He was on last week's show. That's crazy.
Ooh.
All right, who wants to go next?
Nice.
Liz